Welcome to Let's Get Metaphysical, the show that stretches you beyond your five senses. When you are looking for your next step on the path into the unseen, we've got you covered. Join epic adventure seekers and level up your game with your host, reality magician Allie Bierman.
Epic adventure seekers, welcome to your guide to demystifying your world. I'm Allie Bierman, and you are listening to Let's Get Metaphysical, connecting heart and mind. Today's guest, Suzanne King, vibrantly takes on life in all its glory. Open your heart, perk up your ears for this adventure. First, I have a quick question for you. Do you live the same day after day after day after day? Same routine, get up, go to work, come home, watch people doing what they love to do on that big screen in front of you? Are you ready to change your routine? To end the routine and finally actually live life as the adventure it truly can be? Download Step in a New Direction, open it, read it, and apply what I share. No waiting, your new adventure can begin today. Suzanne King is best known for helping you to benefit from lessons of remembering your past lives and how they can be a source of wisdom and action for positive change in your life and in your relationships with others and with the earth. Her career spans more than 30 years of sharing topics in diverse venues on nature and self-improvement programs for women and children, including Everyday Magic for Girls. For 15 years, Suzanne co-owned Heart of the Goddess, a holistic learning center that sponsored international authors and workshop leaders. She co-created Women Wisdom Trainings, a franchise series of workshops that forged a path for women to honor the divine feminine. In fact, she's best known for helping thousands of women become empowered, regain a deep connection with themselves, the earth, the sacred feminine, and the divine, in order to infuse joy and the great mystery into their everyday lives. Media coverage includes a feature article in the Philadelphia Inquirer magazine section, numerous newspaper and local magazine articles, and a series of radio interviews on the healing properties of light and color. In case I have not yet piqued your curiosity, for those of you watching the video, and I will be sharing it with you what it is. It's a picture of Suzanne with her daughter's mini horse that she walks alongside her friend, Domini Celebrity, another one of our distinguished guests on the show, while Domini's walking her dog. My epic adventure seeker, prepare to be wowed. Welcome to our show, Suzanne.
Allie, thank you so much. It's lovely to be here with you.
I'm just so excited. I'm overjoyed here. You are such a wealth of experiences and adventures. And I really want to take our epic adventure seekers places we've not yet gone on this show. So let's begin with the life experiences you share in your newest book, Eternity.
Okay. Well, how I got started in past lives or being interested in them, my mother told me when I was 14 that she'd read a book called The Search for Bridie Murphy. And we talked about reincarnation. She was very interested in all the esoteric things. So it was natural. It was just a natural course. And then as I grew up, I explored it further, and I did meet a friend who was very intuitive, and she would have these past life sessions. So I I experienced some of my past lives. It was easy. It was fun. I'm very visual. So that was just really fun. And I took it all in stride. And then I did have a period of time in my life for 18 months, I spontaneously remembered very vivid details of lives, and it changed my life forever. So, at a certain point, I was always interested in these things, and there was a party at my house, about 60 people. We had a sweat lodge. We had a maypole. It was summer solstice, and a woman came to the party. I met her, and her name was Hamitra, and we became friends. But as we became friends, I began to have those visions. We were sitting outside, and I said, it feels like ancient Greece. And she piped right up and she said, it does feel like ancient Greece. So it didn't look like ancient Greece, but we both tuned in to something. And we then went to a psychic, and she said, yes, you two were together in ancient Greece. And the story unrolled and went on, details coming up in my mind. But that happened for about 18 months. High adventure lives, being on the run together in France. All sorts of things came up, and it was fascinating. It was not even it was disconcerting, but it was sort of an unusual normal. And we knew we both were on the same page. But what we discovered was that these lifetimes we were always together, many, many, many times together, but we were always together as a couple. And one lifetime was Victorian England. She was in government. I was the wife. And it just went on and on. Well, we discovered that we were not just, that we had always been in love. And we fell in love again. And it wasn't really convenient because I was married with 2 children. But in the end, it was really a destiny card. And I did divorce my husband, and I was with Hamitra for 25 years. And we had the center Heart of the Goddess and the Woman Wisdom group, and we would take these women into past lives, and it was just a matter of course. And we always said we'd write a book. We said, we should write this book. And yet I was a little bit too, we were in hiding. It was not the time to be running off with a woman. And, as many couples have experienced. But at a certain point, we said, we should write this. So we began to write, and she had discovered she had breast cancer. And within a year, she was gone. And yet, then I immediately began hearing her and seeing her. She was communicating with me. And she said, you've got to write the book. You've got to do the work. And then I went even deeper into these lives, into these past lives that were so meaningful. But I went deeper and deeper and deeper into their whole resolution and their reason. And that again changed my life and gave me a picture of my soul through eternity. And as human beings, we have such rich experiences. We've been here over and over and over. And it just, it was very helpful. I mean, I learned so much.
It's so cool. The Buddha said he lived 500 lifetimes before recognizing who he was.
Yes, I'm sure, because what I discovered was a pattern, a pattern between us that, or different patterns in our lifetimes that we just automatically slip into. The patterns of our lives are so pervasive. We are the same soul, but we get locked into situations And this lifetime is a very good lifetime to break those patterns and really become who we are, which is incredible as human beings. And we are honored by the spirits and our guides and angels for being here and being human, because it's not easy, but we're here by choice. And it's a beautiful thing.
And we're also here by choice at this time. I like to say we are the ones we've been waiting for, because it's all this love energy that's present now that changes the world. And people who think that's ludicrous, by being love and emanating love, you change things. The fact is, that's the only way you change things.
That is the only way you change things. And that was part of the lesson. The lessons I've learned is from communicating with loved ones in spirit and the past lives, because we need to know who we are. We need to know who we are as souls. It gives us courage. It gives us reason, purpose. And you're right. And we're here. This is it. This is the big one.
And yeah, that's well put.
Yeah.
When I was listening to you when you were talking, and it reminded me, I met a friend who I had a very, very long time ago. And when we met, we looked into each other's eyes. They say you see into each other's eyes and know. We knew that we knew each other from a past life. And she started describing a life in Atlantis. And the description that she said was something that I had seen in one of my own past life visions. So there was no question to me. Yes, that's how we were connected. So like you were saying, it's, yes, we're connected with the people at the time when it's supposed to happen. So what my understanding was, and it sounds like your experience is very different, so I don't know where I got my understanding. I thought that
it's perfect.
You're right. Thank you for saying that. I thought that we keep coming back in lifetimes until we get it right. You know what I mean? The relationship, there's something that's out of balance. It's like when I counsel people about whether it's appropriate for them or better for them to end a marriage or continue. If you decide to end it, you have to close it out. You don't just leave it unfinished. And that's how I'm seeing the past life connections. Does any of what I just said make sense to you?
Absolutely. We come back with our loved ones. We come back with our not loved ones, and it's all for experience. And as I have done this over and over and taken people into past lives and experienced my own, people will say to me, I don't know if I don't want to go off on a tangent, but this has come up. They'll say, I'm excited to do this, but I'm afraid I've done something awful. And I look at them and I say, well, I can guarantee that whatever you think is awful, you've experienced it, whether you're a victim or a villain. But that's not a bad or good thing. That is just your experience. And we came here, we volunteered to come here to understand what it is to be fully human. And the light and the dark, we had to experience both sides. And we don't even have to forgive ourselves. We're here to experience, as I say, the light and the dark. And the other thing I have, you said Atlantis, and Atlantis was 10, 20,000 years ago. What I have understood now, and this is part of our training that we did as for women, the last 5,000 years have been very different in history. They've been ruled by greed, the material, and disconnection from the earth, from our intuition, from each other, and from spirit. We're told what to do. Just do it. Don't think, don't be intuitive. So when you go back and take people back to those lifetimes in Atlantis or pre-Hellenic Greece or ancient Egypt, we realize that life on earth has been so different. And we were connected. We were connected to spirit and to the earth in such a way that to remember that, we need to bring that back. I mean, Gregg Braden said in one of his books, he said, the key to our future lies in the wisdom of the past.
And I'm also recognizing, because I read a lot of Edgar Casey's stuff,
Yeah.
and his book on Atlantis, he said the library from Atlantis said there had been a landmass going over to Egypt, and the library is somewhere in Egypt that hasn't been found yet. Have you ever read that one?
I love it. There's a lot that is going to be discovered. I've read that, but that gives me chills.
Yeah, it makes sense to me because you see the same cultural truths everywhere. Like
Yes.
Carolyn Mace calls it truth with a capital D. Truth with a capital T, because no matter what the culture, no matter what the religion, the basis, and there seems to be a mystic aspect to every religion that's been hidden.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like I didn't know any, I never even heard of the Kabbalah until 10 or 15 years ago. And it was she called herself a recovering Mormon who had taught me about the Kabbalah. It's like, whoa. So I went and studied and I say, oh, okay. So this is the same thing I would bet in like the Catholic mysticism that's well hidden. And I into the Vedic teachings, and I love everything Chinese. I know I've seen a past life in as a Chinese person somehow, and the culture and the wisdom, and it's all the same. And people who go sit up on the mountaintop that mainstream thinkers think, what a waste of a life. They're holding the peace and the love for all of us. It's like, yeah.
And these memories are in everyone. They're really they affect our lives daily and our decisions. And it's wonderful to know them because then you just realize who you are. But it's easier than you think. If you just fall in love with a place, you're traveling, chances are you've been there. You have these feelings in your heart, and they let you know.
That's so cool, because when I grew up in Virginia, I grew up in New York, raised my kids in Virginia, and then after I got divorced, I went to Idaho. And when I came back to Virginia to help my daughter with her first child, I just put out to the universe what I wanted. And my son was saying, oh, Mom, that's ridiculous. You can't find the place you want at the price that you want. It's not going to happen. You got to settle for something else. My daughter didn't quite share that. And she said, Mom, look at this place. I think it's what you're looking for. And yeah, it was. So I put out all my life. I said to the universe, I don't care if I live in a shack. I just want lots of land. And this house was, it was maybe a cut above the shack, but I bordered the Appalachian Trail. Every place I looked, there are 6 different entries to the Appalachian Trail. So I went out a few times a week and I went on a different trail. And, you know, there was no cell phone connection on there. So I trusted the universe would take me someplace where I'd always be safe.
Yes.
So
life is not the way it seems.
No, and if you follow your heart, life is going to make sense. And what you were saying about you don't judge something as good or bad or evil or whatever word you might be choosing to assign, what I teach people is a soulmate isn't the Hollywood lovey-dovey picture. I think a soulmate's what you were talking about. 2 souls agreeing to come in to a lifetime together, and one's agreeing to be really nasty and the other one's agreeing to be the victim so that they each can have their soul growth. And in fact, when I teach forgiveness, I teach a forgiving love. because the experience that happens allows us to become somebody we weren't going to become in this lifetime, to do a behavior that we were not going to choose.
That's right. It is all learning. Now, of course, we're responsible. I mean, we have free will and we're responsible. So every single thought you have, every word you say, and everything that comes forth from you it's permanent. It goes out there. It goes out to the entire universe, and you are responsible for it. And you come back, or when you leave, you kind of look at it, and you have to remember how you affected people. So that's how we learn. And I mean, there is no good or bad or right or wrong, but we are responsible for our thoughts. And any loving, heartfelt kindness is hundreds of thousands times more powerful than fear and hatred and all of that. So this is a time, I really believe, as we said, this is showtime. This is the shift of the ages. It seems to count double right now. So you don't have to do whatever you can do as far as kindness and uplifting your thinking. It's not easy either. I mean, this is not, it isn't easy sometimes, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's funny. I had the same discussion with another person who's going to be a guest next month or the month after. The exact same discussion. So when I was studying Kabbalah, I learned about the 72 names of God, and that the name that's specific for me is number 71. And the names they're not things you can pronounce. They're letters, and they have things that they stand for. It's not unlike the Chinese. It's not an alphabet. Sorry, I don't remember what you call it. Or the Japanese, the writing, that it's all pictographs, think ancient Egypt too.
Yes.
So the name, the 71 name that's mine, is all about prophecy. Prophecy not meaning there's a predestined future that you see. Prophecy meaning there's a choice that you make every step of the way in every situation. And when you make a choice, a whole new line of reality, a parallel universe opens up.
Yes, absolutely. Our choices. And, I'm sure, do you have any regrets? Do humans have any regrets? Yeah, of course we do. But we truly, this is one thing that Hamitra kept saying to me. I would have the regrets would come up. Or I could have done that, and I should have done that, or I was angry at that. And I would see her kind of looking very, very serene. And one time she was looking at her nails. Looks like she just had her nails done, and she's very funny. And she said, "It's human. It's just human." Again, back to we experience light and dark, and we act in all these different ways. So for me, that was great. I really liked that. It was like my get out of jail card, or you're human. You forgive yourself because that's the way it is. You're just human. And she kept telling me that over and over until I began to not only forgive myself, but like myself better as a human.
And I want to go into this a bit more. And first, I'm going to take a quick sponsor break. Today's show is brought to you by Audible. I've been a member of Audible for 7 years. I have an extensive library, which includes full-on courses taught by professors in prestigious universities, a host of books and magazines and podcasts, Audible allows you to take your time for 30 days to explore all the magnificent possibilities, and you can download a book of your choice. And if after 30 days you're not seeing the value of it in your life, you can cancel it and still get to keep the book. You can go to audibletrial.com/ALITLC. The link will be in the show notes. So where you were talking about your communications with Hermitra, and I know that we were talking before we actually started recording about a bird connection. And I wondered if you wanted to expand on there, because I am totally connected to birds myself.
Well, after she passed, she went out of her way to bring me birds. There would be a bird fluttering at the window. I walked one time. There's a track in back and a park. And I was walking and I was grieving after she'd gone. And I said, "Where are you?" And it was getting dark, but I could see a tiny little flicker in the distance. It came closer and closer to me. It was flying. It was a little bird. It was flying exactly at my eye level, head level. As I saw it, it was a swallow. And it got about 15 feet from me and it went straight up. And a bird's never done that before. And I knew it was her. It was a message. And birds give us spirit messages. And they're wonderful. People have said that over and over. When someone passes, they'll see a bird. A bird will be there and do unusual things. They are the spirit messengers. I mean, one time I was walking, came back home, and there were 11 vultures flying around my house, over the roof, circling the roof of my house. The one in the center, I looked up and it was gold. The underbelly was beautiful feathers and the sun was hitting that gold. I knew it was her. It was just very obvious. And there were bird after bird after bird. One time a catbird came. This was all within a year or so. Came and just spun itself around in front of me. I always knew it was her. So birds deliver messages, and so you're right. Yes, birds.
That's really different from my bird experiences. I had a robin used to come, and the robins out in Idaho, really bigger than eastern robins. And it would just knock on my window until I get up and acknowledge it. So if I left that room and went to a room on the other side of the house, don't you think it flew around to the window where I was on the other side of the house and just kept knocking until I'd pay it? And it did this every day. And then I used to jog around the lake, and I'd show up there and there'd be a heron. Now the heron would be in the water and I'd be on the trail around the lake, and it would walk with me all the way around the lake. It was so cool. And I knew it was there to accompany me. I didn't feel a connection of who it might be, but it was always there. And when I moved out to Boise, Idaho, I lived in the high desert. There was no water. There were no lakes. There was one river, but not near me. And one day I looked out in the backyard. There was a blue heron in the backyard. And I thought, maybe he came out here with me.
Oh my gosh. You definitely have a spirit connection with these beings.
Definitely. And I was sitting and talking with a friend. I don't remember where we were, but it was outdoors. And a little purple heron came down and sat next to me. I mean, right next to me, like I could reach out. And one day the blue heron wasn't at the lake, but there was a crane, and it let me walk all the way up to it. So I wasn't at a point where I was communicating, where I got messages from them, and yet I felt connected.
Yes, we are connected.
Yeah,
And nature loves it when we acknowledge that. Nature spirits, animals, they're so wise.
and birds have phenomenal hearing. I live in a yard that's surrounded by woods, and when the birds are in my yard or at my feeder, and I get lots of all kinds of colors and lots of turkey
Aw.
families, if I just raise the shade so I can get a better picture of them, they all run. They hear it. With the window closed, they hear it. So I
Aw.
have to move very quietly if I want to be able to get a picture. And I watch them feed, and I think, man, I'm glad I'm not a bird, because they have to grab the food, turn their head, see if they're safe, grab the food, turn. Have
Oh,
you ever noticed
yes.
that?
Yes. The world
Yeah.
of nature.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. I have all kinds of animals that come into my yard.
Mm.
So there are so many things that I'd like to know more about. And so long as we're talking about the animals, and I've got all kinds of exquisite animals that wander through my yard, including a cougar now and then. And
Mm.
I love to read books, The Secret Wisdom of Nature, which gives you the details, like the relationship between an aphid and a plant, or it's just extraordinary, the communication
Oh,
and the
yeah.
secret life of plants and all these things. And I know that you had a program, a workbook to share with us about the sacred animal wisdom, a handbook for the human heart, and where that
Um,
came from for you.
with our 15 years, we did a training for women called Woman Wisdom. It was just remembering who you are, reconnecting with nature, reconnecting with your intuition, with each other, with the divine feminine. And part of it was your spirit animal, a little bit of shamanism, your connection with nature. And the book was written as a workbook for, we hired teachers to carry on the program. And it was to be a workbook, which it is. Now, it's not out of, it's out of print, the workbook, but I am 2022, it will come back as some kind of a workbook, but also just the stories of animal communication, which is, it just happens every day, every single day. They love it when you acknowledge. I mean, can you imagine being with somebody all the time and there's just a wall between you? We have foxes that come into the yard ever since I've lived here. 30 years, they have a pathway around the house because I give them scraps. I even tell them in my mind, okay, you better go out there because there's something for you. Damini, my friend and who lives in the same property, she goes out, sees the babies in the spring and the woods and everything. But I was told by an intuitive, he said, the foxes protect your place.
Oh.
They really feel safe there and they protect the property. And I've talked to them, I've walked out and in writing the book, and I thought this was just an experiment because I've heard the animals talk to me many times. And I saw a fox. It was it was many yards away, and I stopped and it stopped, it looked at me, and I said in my mind, I said, what do you think of humans? And immediately I heard, they smell bad. No, they smell funny. And then I asked another question. I don't remember. I have it written down. But then it casually walked away. And I thought, well, of course, we have soaps and perfumes and different odors. But that was an interesting comment. They smell funny. And their senses, of course, with the smell. But I know, and then the fox, I love the fox, the red fox. I would feed them. And one came and it had mange. Mange will kill them when their fur disappears. And I kept feeding it. And I didn't know how long it would be there. But at one day, and these are wild animals, it appeared all curled up in the little garden outside my kitchen window. I thought it was dead, but I was so honored because it felt safe enough to come and be there and just be sick and lie there. And it disappeared. But I always felt honored by that. There was a rapport. We have a relationship. So yes, I mean, people can tell story after story of their pets and the marvelous, amazing connection they have. But it is a natural connection too. And we've just, again, another thing we've been talked out of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it reminded me. I have a friend who grew up in the mountains in West Virginia, and she was sharing a story one day when she was little, because they lived in the country in the mountains on lots of land. The deer would come and eat like all the apples on the tree. So one day her father asked the deer not to come into the yard and do that anymore. And she said, there
Oh,
never was another deer that came in the yard and did that. And I thought,
oh my
okay.
gosh.
Like, so during tick season, because there are a lot of ticks here, I would
Uh-huh.
go out in the yard, and the first thing I would do as I was walking out there is I said, I'm not going to bother you, and you don't bother me. And so far, nothing's bothered me. But
How
I
wonderful.
believe they're all listening.
Yes, absolutely. There's always a connection. We've just the severing of that connection is a tragedy with the natural world, with the elements and with the animals. And it's but we're reconnecting.
I need to have a talk with the foxes who come sometime, because when we see the foxes, there are no rabbits. And we're pretty sure
Oh,
of the reason for that.
yes. Yummy rabbits for foxes.
Yeah. I when I lived near the Appalachian Trail, birds were constantly flying into the windows of the house, and it
Oh,
really upset me when they died. But so whenever I'd hear the bang, I'd run out to see, and I saw this little bird lying there on my deck, and I thought, I'm not sure it's alive, but I went out and I ran energy on it. And I just kept
aw.
running energy on it. And then it started moving, and I kept running energy. And then it got up and I kept running energy, and it flew up into the nearby tree. And it
Aw.
just stopped there for a while. And it looked back, and I know it was saying thank you. And it left.
Absolutely. Oh, so sweet.
So nobody could ever make me think that I think animals might be smarter than we. I honestly believe, from all the reading studying I've done, that plants are way superior to us. And
You know, I don't mean to interrupt you.
that's
What
like,
you said, I quote Rudolf Steiner a lot in my book, the book Eternity. And those birds that came, I mean, there were so many experiences with birds. Red-tailed hawk, one would come and circle, another one would come. It was Hamitra. It was she was sending, but what Steiner said in his book on it's called Staying Connected. It's about talking to our loved ones in spirit. He said that when we are here on earth, we experience the animal kingdom a certain way. But when we pass into spirit, he said the first thing we must learn is to know the animals from the inside, because the animals are two kingdoms above humans. And therefore, I mean, she learned how to be a bird and all those things. And but that was a very interesting explanation. Yes, humans need to know the animal kingdom from the inside, because animals are two kingdoms above the human form. And of course, if you think about it, it's true.
I watched the wild turkey families, and oh man, have they got a culture and a hierarchy and personalities, and
Oh,
whoa, there's one who's ostracized and all the other adults chase it like
oh, yes.
violently. And then there used to be one who came up all alone, and I guess that one was ostracized. It's like,
Pecking
and then
order.
you watch the babies, and they're little scrawny ones, and then there are others that are almost as big as the parents now. It's just fascinating to watch.
It is fascinating. Yes.
Well, I am watching the time and want to be sure that I find out what message you really want to leave with everybody today.
Well, let's see. Just that it's going to be okay. It's rough here now. But I truly believe that this is just what we volunteered for. The ending is already good. Things are happening that are beautiful, beyond our wildest dreams. Just stick with the course. You're here for this. You have all the tools that you need. And, love is the only answer. The heart connecting, just do a little bit. If you can just a little bit of kindness, first of all, toward yourself, and pull away from what appears to be going on, which is pretty dreadful in its appearance. It's kind of like a bad science fiction movie, but it's okay. And you are more than you have ever dreamed. You have all that you need to be here for this beautiful time. So just that was the biggest message from my beloved Hamitra. She said, okay, she told me, write the book, do the work, all these instructions. But then as she was in spirit longer, she said, look, just love yourself. That is the greatest gift to everyone else, because we are one.
Thank you. That's definitely what I live and I believe and I teach too. And I think that goes right in with the special gift that you are sharing today.
Okay. Well, a couple of things. On my website, you can, if you go under blogs, you can download a recording that is a full past life. And there's also a meditation. If you click on the fairy garden, there's a video with music about past lives. That's cute. I like that. It's my fairy garden out there. And if you mention this podcast and you are interested in a past life reading, you take off $30 of the price just to mention this lovely podcast that Allie does.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for so generously sharing with us today, for making a difference in thousands of lives. And all of the link to her website, and all of this will be in the show notes. It's SuzanneRking.com, and I encourage you to go and explore, because there is a lot of stuff. Some of it may be new to you, and some of it may be things you've been wondering about for a long time. And maybe because you're listening today, it's time for you to jump in and do something about your wondering. So remember
Thank you, Allie.
Yeah, thank you for being here and doing your work. I'm reminding all of you to download your copy to step in a new direction and change your life today. Visit our show page where you can view the video as well as listen to the episode or any previous episode, and very easily leave a review, which is very much appreciated. Join our Facebook group where you can ask a question, make a new friend, and follow any special announcements that we are making coming up. And I wish you a day filled with blessings. And remember to enjoy, that's capital I-N, capital J-O-Y, every moment, because your life only exists within.
You've been listening to a talk on the wilder side. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Metaphysical. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a single episode, and while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every Monday for more exciting insights and wisdom on life beyond your five senses. Until next time, take a small step in a new direction. Start now.